Salazar Resources is highly regarded in Ecuador.
Right.
We are the Ecuadorian company. We've got an unrivaled Ecuadorian network. The minister now knows us intimately. He's worked for the company. Our expertise is as exploration, and we're really focused on value per share. Now, if we can, with the expertise that we've got and the drill rigs we've got and the way that we can operate in country, we can identify another project which adds 10 or 20% to the share, then that's value accretive.
Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We're here today with Merlin Marr-Johnson. He's a director at Salazar Resources. They've got a project or two in Ecuador. Now, Merlin, we spoke before Christmas.
Yes.
And I'm back already because I really enjoy listening to your story.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I also like your business model. That's something that most people we speak to cannot articulate, and I thought you've got something there that people should listen to. So give us a little summary of what that little structure is, which kind of allows you to be financially sufficient for this year, and then we'll get into the reason why we're talking today.
Okay. The company, Salazar Resources, is listed in Canada. It's a $25 million Canadian company, explorer developer. In a sense, we're a project generator, and we've already found one highly valuable project. It's a VMS deposit, about 5% copper equivalent at surface, and we farmed that out. And so we are fully carried on 25% of that all the way through to production, and it's at the PEA stage of development.
Yep.
And as part of that farm out, we get annual revenue. We get an income of around $600,000 US, and potentially more. There's some exploration around the sides of that farm out, which could actually augment that income. And we have 3 wholly owned drill rigs, which has also got the potential to add to our annual pot.
Right.
So we're a funded explorer, which is rare these days. And with that money and the treasury we have, we have got enough to drill 3 of our wholly owned projects.
Beautiful.
This year.
I like that because again, when we talk to junior explorers, small companies, you're around sort of $25 million.
Yeah.
I know you've got a lot of experience in the country, but there's a relatively new project to the market. Okay. When we talk to people, they ask them what the business plan is, and they say, "Oh, we're going to drill." And I know you're going to drill, but that does not equate to a business plan. So what you've done is you've ensured you've got enough finances to do the exploration that you want to. You've got an outside partner who's paying you, and that's going to keep you going for the next year? Is that the idea?
Well, it is. We aim to finish the year with about $1.5 million, or at least $1.5 million US in treasury. But what we are seeing is that there's a lot of interest in projects in Ecuador. If you want to find large copper gold projects, Ecuador is one of the best places in the world to go to at the moment. And there's a great deal of scrutiny on Ecuadorian companies, in a good way.
Right.
A lot of interest. And so what we hope to be able to do is to open up a series of data rooms in the second half of the year, structure a farm out, and in that way we'll be able to recycle capital into one of our other 100% owned projects. So we can get another paid farm out with more income, and then we can...
So you're replicating this model. It's a cookie cutter approach to it, which kind of keeps the lights on, keeps you going, keeps exploring, keeps you going. But at some point, the idea is for you to identify an asset for you to develop through to, presumably production at some point, or whatever you choose to do along the line. Is that the idea? Or?
Well, our expertise is as exploration, and we're really focused on value per share.
Okay.
So if you look at the value of the Curipamba asset, which is the one we've already done a farm out on it, we believe that on a value per share basis, we should be looking at a 40 to 50 cent point today on our share price, and our shares are at 20 cents. Now, if we can, with the expertise that we've got and the drill rigs we've got and the way that we can operate in country, we can identify another project which adds 10 or 20% to the share, then that's value accretive. And
Okay.
that's really what we're doing. And we're not necessarily saying, oh, we want to become miners. No, we want to make that discovery. We want to own enough of it to drill it out and take it up the value curve. If it's a big copper porphyry, for example, once you've done the first phase of drilling on it, or possibly the second phase drilling on it on a 100% basis, you need to be a major to be able to fund the drilling.
See, that's refreshingly honest. Again, we talk to people and they go, oh, we're going to take it through to production, and they feel they need to talk this language, which is confusing to investors, because they think, okay, he said he's going to get into production, that's what they're going to do. But the reality is they'll never be able to put the finances in place, but they feel they've got to use that language so they don't get the kind of buyer discount applied, which is, may or may not be true, but it's kind of slightly misleading. So you're very clear about your model, what you want to be.
We're looking at value per share all the time. If it's a high grade, steeply dipping gold deposit that we can drill out relatively easily, it's quite a low cost thing, we will absolutely want to take that on a 100% basis.
Okay.
But if it's a huge copper porphyry, we'll want to bring in a major to fund the drilling.
Right.
Otherwise you're...
Understood. Very clear. Thank you. But that's not what we're here to talk about today, because we read there's been some changes in country with the ministry, the Minister for Mines has appointed someone. Can you tell us a bit about that? Because I think it has a little bit of impact about, I think people's perception of the country, and obviously you know a little bit about the guy as well.
Yes, there have been some changes in the government on the ministry side, but both at the ministerial level of the petroleum, non-renewable and environmental, so that the senior minister in charge of our whole portfolio changed, and the vice minister of mines, the person responsible for the mining sector, has also changed.
Why?
The previous oil, for want of a better word, minister resigned because he'd done a fantastic job over a number of years and was tired, frankly. And the person who got put in his place, Augusto Briones, he's very well known by the president. He's got a long background in the oil industry. He's an excellent person to run that ministry. Mm-hmm. The Vice Minister of Mines for the last few years has been Fernando Benalcazar, and he's done a fantastic job nurturing the mining industry and kind of developing it. With the change of his overseeing kind of minister, the Vice Minister position changed as well. And so they were looking around the country for an appropriate replacement, and Mr. Enrique Gallego Anda has been appointed. And he's been in the sector, mining and oil and gas, for decades, over 30 years. And I think perhaps the interesting point is that he was previously working for Curipamba. He was on the Curipamba project, which is the Salazar project, and he was heading up the community relations and the government liaison.
Right.
So really at the nexus of what we think Salazar Resources is all about, which is getting the technical to match with the community and working kind of in partnership with the land and the government.
Okay. So he knows, obviously he knows a bit about your project, which is good. Are you going to be replacing him?
Yes, we'll be replacing him. We're looking at candidates already.
Right.
I think really what I'm trying to communicate is that Salazar Resources is highly regarded in Ecuador. Right. We are the Ecuadorian company, exploration company.
What do you mean the? There must be others.
There's no other Ecuadorian-run managed company that is listed in Canada.
And why is that an advantage for you?
Well, it creates a pride in the company. You know, you're a national. So we're a relatively small in terms of market capitalization company, but in terms of presence in the country, we are very well recognized. And the CEO and the chairman, Freddie Salazar, you know, he's a nationally recognized figure in the mining sector.
How do you convert pride into returns? I mean, can you monetize that, or is that just a soft, sentimental type feature to the company?
I'm not sure it's just sentimental, but it may be soft. But getting your community, we see this time and time again that soft issues are actually not soft issues. They have a real impact at the bottom line. So we've got an unrivaled Ecuadorian network. The minister now knows us intimately. He's worked for the company. So when it comes to, let's say, a mining application or a license application, we hope that the mining cadastre, the mining register, will open later this year.
Because you're more known than you perhaps were?
And yes, I think it helps.
Right.
So because if we go in for a mining application, the ministry knows that we are committed to doing the right thing by our community. We're committed to the land. We are Ecuadorian, and we have technical expertise and the financial capacity to do a good job.
We talked last time because I'm interested, and I'm sure investors will be interested in how do you convert that into value, and I mean by value I mean money.
Yeah.
So you're well known.
Yeah.
You're the Ecuadorian run company in the country. The big boys must be looking at. Do you think the big boys are looking at you? Because there's a lot of big names in the country at the moment, with various programs on. And you talked last time when we spoke about a new round of bidding coming up. Is that right?
Bidding for Ecuadorian assets or our assets in particular.
Ecuadorian assets.
Yes, I mean, I think I was referring to the fact that the mining cadastre, the mining register is due to reopen.
Yeah.
We've heard reports of Q2 or Q3.
Right.
The sooner the better, frankly, but that will reopen the floodgates and the kind of the deal flow within country. Now, what we're looking to do, we've had inbound from a number of companies registering interest, asking.
What sort of companies? What do you mean companies? Local companies? Majors?
Yeah, majors.
Okay.
And some local companies, majors and local companies. Essentially, Freddy Salazar is a really well-known geologist in Ecuador. And if you're a major and you're coming into country, one of the first things you do is call up Freddy and say, what are you working on?
Okay.
And he's been saying, well, I'm working on we've got a copper porphyry target up in the north, and we've got a gold project here, and we've got some copper gold project here.
Yeah.
Do you want to come and have a look? And the answer has been, well, yes, what are your plans for this year? And we've said, well, we're going to be drilling. And they said, that's really interesting. Please, let's have a look later in the year. So what we put out in the news release earlier this week was that we were going to open a data room in the second half of the year.
Right. Okay. With what end in mind?
A formal process to do a farm out on one or more of our projects.
Okay.
Now, it slightly depends. We want to be able to hold the cards. So we've got 4 projects that we are working on, 3 that we're going to be drilling this year. When the mining cadastre reopens, we've got 4 permits which have been sitting there for a couple of years, and we hope that we'll get 1 or 2 of those issued. So we'll have a slightly bigger portfolio. And we're also going to apply for another 10 new licenses. So we'll have when we see actually how the cards fall and we see how many projects we have, then, and also we've got the results of the drilling, then we'll have a much better idea of what we want to farm out and which one we want to keep as a 100% basis.
Okay, so I'm buying into this sort of incubator model.
Yep.
Okay, it's great. It works. I really like it. But where do you get the scale from? Do you think this kind of cookie cutter approach of incubating, farming out is the way to go? Because you won't need ever to raise significant capital that way, and you are looking after the value per share.
Yeah.
You're definitely doing that. But could you ever get scale that way?
Okay, let's just look at one of our projects, which is called Rumiñahui. It's up in the north of the country. It's on a known porphyry belt. You've got Cascabel in the north, which is now 2 billion tons at 0.6% copper equivalent or 0.7% copper equivalent, and they're just about to put out another resource on that, probably going to grow that.
Right.
Then you come south and you've got Urimagua, which is 1 billion tons at 0.9% copper equivalent, and then you've got our Rumiñahui project, and we've got all the signals of this porphyry belt.
Right.
Now let's call it a 1 billion ton target, an exploration target of 1 billion tons. That has scale. but it also comes with a serious financial liability that if you want to drill it out, it's going to cost you $100 million.
Yeah.
So if we can get let's say on that kind of project, if we can get a 15 or 20 or 25% or 30% farm out that we're carried, that is scale and value. If you come down to right to the other end of the country at our Macara project, it's a gold VMS style target. And if we can get a few drill holes in there, that's got scale. The VMS projects are high grade, and remember that we took Curipamba all the way from discovery through to 9 million tons of resources by ourselves, and that was before we had the income.
Yeah.
So, we can get scale. Through discovery, you can get the scale.
Okay, exciting times. Merlin, thanks very much for the update. Really enjoyed hearing how things are progressing. I'm intrigued as to your plans for the rest of the year, and I know you've talked about some of the things, and how you're going to deliver those. So please stay in touch. Let us know how things are going on. It's one of the stories we do enjoy listening to. And say, at least you have a plan.
We've got a plan. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.